The difference between Dungeons and Dragons and board games. Hello and welcome. My name is Ramji and today we're going to be talking about the differences between Dungeons and Dragons and traditional board games. If you're familiar with board games like Monopoly, Scrabble, or chess, then you already have a good idea of how they work. But Dungeons and Dragons, known as D&D, is a bit different. Role-playing elements. One of the key differences between D&D and traditional board games is that D&D is what's called a role-playing game. This means that each player creates and plays the role of a character in a fantasy world. Players can choose to be humans, dwarves, or any other fantasy race, and they can choose to be wizards or fighters or rogues or many other archetypes. The characters have different attributes. They have strength, intelligence, wisdom, charisma, and skills and abilities that allow them to do and interact with things in the world. Collaborative storytelling. Another key difference between Dungeons and Dragons and board games is that D&D is what's called a collaborative game. The players work together with the Dungeon Master to tell a story. Really, they don't compete against each other. It's not a competitive game, and people often ask, how do you win Dungeons and Dragons? And honestly, the answer is by having a hell of a good time. The Dungeon Master is responsible for creating a story or an adventure for the group to play through, and then they'll describe scenes and situations and take on the parts of non-player characters so that the players can understand and experience the world. The players then decide together how their characters respond and interact to the world around them. Another major difference between D&D and board games is the use of dice. D&D uses dice differently. They're used to determine the outcome of certain actions, as well as the decisions and choices of the non-player characters when the Dungeon Master rolls dice themselves. So, whether your character hits an enemy in combat or succeeds at a difficult task. Some board games do have this, but most don't include that sense of randomness. When you choose to do something in a board game, it almost always succeeds. You place a tile down in Catan, or you move a piece in chess. There's no chance that it will fail, or that your opponent can roll a dice to see and introduce a chance of failure. So when you roll the dice, the element of probability adds this chance to the game, and it means that even the most skilled character or player can sometimes fail, often humorously or dramatically. I hope this brief overview has given you an idea of how D&D is different from traditional board games. D&D is a unique and exciting game that combines elements of role-playing, collaborative storytelling, and just plain old chance. Whether you're a seasoned board game player or a complete beginner, D&D is a fun and engaging game that can be enjoyed by people of all ages. It allows you to explore worlds with your friends and create stories that will stay with you for years and decades to come. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great time playing. See you next time.